Gisteravond is Shawn in Antwerpen geweest. Daar is hij gestart met zijn Europese tour. Dus Rotterdam is de tweede plaats die hij nu aandoet. Hij is dus nu nog fris en fruitig. Zo gezegd. Ik weet niet of dat over een paar weken nog zo is. Maar hij is er nu in ieder geval voor ons. Gunther gaf me wel al een sms'je van René. Kijk wel uit. Let een beetje op de tijd. Want het is gisteravond 1:30 geworden. Dus ik zeg het maar vast. Maar het ligt aan ons allemaal. Hè? In ieder geval van harte welkom. En ja, ik ga eventjes... you understand what I said?
Every word.
Shawn told me this afternoon he speaks 9 languages.
No, I said I can perform in 9 languages.
Okay.
I can barely speak English.
There is a little difference right
Very
now.
different, yes.
Shawn, I told you, I told the people over here, you are a magician, a lecturer now for us here in Rotterdam. You're not the first lecturer here, but maybe you are one of the best of the best.
Oh,
do you agree?
Well, that's a lot of weight. Well, let everybody else be the judge of.
Well, you fooled Penn and Teller twice.
Yeah, but they're easy to fool. No, sorry. Okay.
Explain this one.
Because they think like magicians, and I try not to think like a magician because I am a magician. So fooling magicians is a little bit easier than fooling real people because we have our own preconceived ideas.
Yeah.
And so I try to play on the things that we think about to fool them. It's the same idea I had when I went to FISM.
Yeah.
To take classic magic tricks like the cups and balls and ambitious card trick, but do them in a way that we don't do them, so that it would fool them.
The first show at Penn and Teller, you did the trick with the sealed card box.
Yes.
Why that one?
I had already won a FISM award with it. I thought if it could win FISM, it could fool Penn and Teller. Apparently I was right.
Yeah. And the second one is another one?
The Sheer Luck, the book test.
The Sheer Luck book test, yeah.
I wanted to do this because I'd noticed that at FISM there hadn't been any mentalism awards for quite some time.
Yeah.
And so I started building a mentalism act to go. But I wanted it to be a funny mentalism act instead of a serious like all other mentalists. And I thought it was a good competition to go in. I'd already won 5 FISM awards.
Yeah.
And if I got a 6th, I would have the most in history. And I thought if I was going to be smart, it would be smart to do something that wasn't my category. Because if I did something that you expected, like cards or close-up, well, then it would be a shame if I lost. But if I went in mentalism and lost, I was just an idiot to be in mentalism. Smart idea, right? Yeah. And then they gave away the mentalism award that year, and I went, well, then I'll take the trick and go to Penn and Teller and see if I can fool them.
Yeah.
And I fooled them. So
that's amazing. You did it twice. I guess Shin Lim was the other one.
There are 4. Paul Gertner, Vinny Grasso, Shin Lim, and myself. Yeah. And the producers just contacted me 3 weeks ago. Yeah. They have Paul Gertner and Vinny Grasso agreeing to come back for a 3rd attempt. Yeah. Shin said no because he just won America's Got Talent, and now he's in the Champions of Magic, where I hope he'll be the champion of all the champions. And I said no because I'm on this tour, and it was to film March 6th and 7th, and I will be somewhere in Ireland, I think, and I didn't want to cancel a couple of dates and feel like a jerk to people saying, sorry, I'm leaving to go full Penn and Teller or try. So I'll wait till next year and see if maybe Paul Gertner or Vinny Grasso become the first to fool them 3 times. And
so a 3rd time in Penn and Teller is possible?
Yeah, why not?
And you are thinking right now
I have the
about
trick already worked out. I have the whole effect. I have 4.
You will show it this evening?
No, but one is one that I plan to. I will teach one this evening that I was originally going to do, and the producers asked me if I could do something that didn't use cards. So the trick that I will show you tonight was the one I was planning to do on Fool Us, and I'm sure it would fool them, or I'm 99%, because there's always a chance that they're, they don't think the same every time.
I was wondering, you are a performer as a pro, of course, and you are also performing for laymen. Which effects are the best effects for laymen, in your opinion?
Oh, see, my opinion will differ from almost everybody else in the room.
That's why I'm asking.
The strongest piece of magic that you can perform in a layman's hands is anything done in their hands. And I'm surprised when I tell people I think one of the strongest pieces of magic is the sponge balls. Most of us, we do them when we start, and then we throw them away. I just finished a 67 show contract in a Spiegel tent, and I did 2 spots on the center stage, but I also had to do what they call animation, moving among the tables. And I did sponge balls all evening. And the reaction is incredible. People scream, they jump from their seats, and I'm like, it's a sponge ball. But they still freak out. I used to laugh. I would do a big evening illusion show, and I would do origami, float my daughter in the air, vanishing Azure style. And then I'd bring a little boy on stage, and I would do a sponge ball in his hands. And it got just as much applause, if not more reaction, than the origami. And so any magic that takes place in the spectator's hands is stronger. And simple magic, where your character comes across more, is far more powerful than anything that's complicated and you have to spend time thinking about the technique in the show.
What do you mean exactly when you say it has to suit your character?
I think that's a hard thing for most magicians to learn. When I was young, I wanted to be my father. And then as I got older, my mentor was Mandrake the Magician from the comic books. And so you can see pictures of me with my bad mustache and tilted top hat. And then I wanted to be Lance Burton. And then I realized I couldn't be any of those people, and I had to be me. It took a long time to learn to be me, and I learned in a very funny way. I was working on a cruise ship, and we were cruising to Rome. And it was my day off, and my wife and I, we took a train in from Civitavecchia into the city of Rome, and we drank wine and ate pasta. It was a great night. All day long in the Tuscan sun, it was wonderful. And then came back to the ship to find out the juggler had broken his ankle, and we were doing a show that night. And I couldn't do a show. I was pretty drunk and fat, and just feeling very... And I had a very character-driven show that was not me. It was very elegant and blah, 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 which was not me. And I tried to do the show, and I was failing miserably. And about halfway through, I stopped, and I apologized to the audience. I said, I'm sorry, but if you look at your program, that's not my face. The juggler's supposed to be on it. I did what you did today. And I pointed at a man in the audience who was asleep. I said, I feel like him. Everybody was, very lightheaded and filled up with pasta. And I said... let me do a trick I can't screw up. And I left the stage and got something my grandfather had taught me, pulled it out of the case. My wife was, what are you doing? I said, I'm saving the show, I hope. I did the trick, and then I showed another thing, and I told a story. And instead of doing my magic, I talked, and I made some jokes about, I've been doing magic all my life. My mom says when I was born, the doctor slapped me, and I said, pick a card. And I said all the lines that I just said in conversations, not stuff in a show. I said, my father did magic, my grandfather, my great-grandfather. I'm the 4th generation without a real job. And the audience loved it. And when the show ended, I got a standing ovation that wasn't one of those ones where people get up slowly. They just went, boom, boom, and I was like, oh. And they loved me, and I had to do the show again. So second,
is that the secret, that the audience has to love you?
Yeah, but when I tried to do it the second show, I tried to characterize it up some, and it started to fail. And so halfway through, I went back to explaining, and it took me about 3 months of doing the show on the ship to stop being a character and be me, who is a character. I never realized I am a character. And when you realize that the only person that can be you is you, it changes. And people can try to be you, but they're all trying.
So Shawn Farquhar in normal life is also the Shawn Farquhar.
I'm a goof. I'm the same guy. I amplify it a little bit, raise my attitude a little bit, but other than that, I'm me. And if you don't like me, boy, you're going to have a horrible time at my show.
We like you.
I just did a contract at the Spiegel tent. They flew a Spiegel tent from Belgium to Canada, first one ever to go into my country, and in a surrounded stage with the people 1 meter from me. And then the producer said, we'd like you to be more magical, so if you could be angry and mean with a steampunk glasses and a black long trench coat. And I was like, sure, let's try that. And the first night, it was horrible. The second night wasn't any better. And the third night, I came out on stage very stern, walked to the center, and I slowly looked around at the audience and then raised my glass and went, hey guys, it's me. And everybody laughed. And the person said, yeah, this is what we'll do from now on. And then I got to relax and be me.
The effects, I guess you became world champion with beautiful effect, Shape of My Heart.
Yeah.
How can you tell us something more about the process from that number, the act?
It was such a bizarre occurrence. I wasn't a close-up magician. I was a stage magician working full-time on cruise ships, and it was in the early 90s, I think 1995. We were at home on a break. My wife and I had a fun game. We would go to the video stores and rent videos from the bargain bin or from other languages. And if you remember back then, TVs, you could fix the horizontal and the vertical and widen the screen. And you could always shorten the screen. You see a little white square telling when the commercials were coming. Well, we put the video in. And the movie was called Leon, which later they changed it to The Professional. But when we saw it, it was called Leon. And it was a hitman movie with a little girl, Natalie Portman. And we would always open up it so that you couldn't see the subtitles. And then we would make up our own words. And it was fun, because sometimes you were right and you were wrong. And the movie was okay, but when the movie ended, my wife went to make popcorn, and when the credits were rolling, the music came on. And I listened, and it was only English in the film, and I was like, oh my God. And I rewound the video, and I took out a deck of cards, and by the time my wife came in with the popcorn, I said, watch this. And she goes, are we not watching the second movie? And I'm like, no, we're going to do this again and again. And it developed. This is a terrible thing. I rented from a company called Blockbuster, which doesn't exist anymore, thank God, because I didn't return the videotape, because I couldn't copy off the videotape back then. And I tried to make a recording off a cassette tape, but it didn't sound good. So the only music choice I had was to have the videotape. And it got so expensive I couldn't return it. So when the company went bankrupt, I went up to the door and I put it through the slot. I went home. I wish I kept it now, because I would put it in a shadow box in my office, but I dropped it off. So it was not so much a process of anything other than the song played, I heard it, I loved it.
Did you ever perform it for Sting?
No, but the Sting's management contacted me, and that was a fun one. I was working on a cruise ship, and the cameraman one day said to me, I'm going to quit being your cameraman. I never wanted to be a cameraman. I wanted to be an audio guy. And I said, oh. And I said, you're really good at a camera. He said, yeah, but I want to be an audio. And I said, where are you going to go? He says, to Vancouver. I said, well, why don't you stay in my home? And I gave him the key to my house. I said, you can stay as long as you want to. When you leave, don't leave fruit or anything as a gift, because I won't be home for more than a year. He was home for about 3 weeks at my house, and he drove by North Vancouver, where there was an arena, and he saw people loading cases in. So he went and talked to them about getting a job loading the cases. He ended up being the second in charge of audio for the police reunion tour. And so one day at the craft service table where they have the snacks, he brought in a DVD player and played My Shape of My Heart, because he had all the video from the camera. Yeah. He played it for Sting, and Sting was go, can we reach this person? And Sting's management contacted me to do a show at the Palladium. And the deal was I was to win the 2006 World Championship in Stockholm, and immediately following I would go to the Palladium in London to do the Prince's Trust. I got second prize and never did the show with Sting. Yeah. That's a sad ending. Yeah.
Let's talk about FISM.
Okay.
Yeah. We have to go to Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm very excited.
Who is going to the FISM in Canada? Oh, you see, already.
Yeah.
A few people are... yeah.
It's over half sold.
What can we expect?
A European flair in Canada. A very warm welcome from a Canadian culture that is welcoming and friendly. A very non-American feeling. We'll welcome you with open arms. Quebec City is an old city. It's the oldest city in Canada. And so there's some beautiful old buildings, which would look like the new buildings in most of Europe. but for my country that's only 130 years old, they're old. It's not a coastal city, but it's on the water's edge. So you'll be able to see like whale watching and things like that. Cobblestone roads, lots of cafes, and some unique ideas. The producers have produced a magic festival for more than a decade for the general public, and they do a really great job on the high-tech end. The technical people are people that have worked on Cirque du Soleil. The advertising people have won, I think, 50 advertising awards internationally, so they're very creative. And they're listening to some really fun ideas that other magicians like myself, and they're listening when they go, we're going to try this. I say, no, I saw that and it failed miserably. Like, oh, then we're not going to try that. So they're listening, which is good. And they truly love magic. I think that Canada has contributed over the years to FISM, and most of the former FISM people are all excited to come back and do things. They're talking to people like Carl Cloutier, who hasn't done magic in years, who is excited to come back and perform. Greg Fruin and Juliana Chen, all Canadian magicians. I think it'll be, we've got Jay Sankey, David Axe, so many that we'll have a one all-Canadian, which will be really fun to have. And some unique ideas on how the competitions will be held to move things forward. I think it will be very special. And everything's
but we have to
in
be
walking
quick.
Distance. Yeah. I was, when we got the bid, other former organizers said, expect to sell 300 to 500 registrations, in advance at the convention. So when we were at almost 1,200 registrations, and clubs like in Taiwan were buying 100 registrations at one time, we were like, oh my God. And it wasn't North America buying, it was most of Europe and most of Asia were buying. And we were like, oh, when I got back to Canada, I knew of only 3 other Canadians who'd registered. I'm like, get your registrations in because it's going to sell out and you're not going to go to the FISM in your own country. They're like, oh, okay, now. And so the numbers are really, really high. It will sell out well in advance. It won't be one where you can register the day of. I'm
so we have
100% positive.
Yeah. This is your second
and it's
lecture.
Closer, to get to than it is for me. For you to fly there will be faster than for me to fly from my side of the country. Yeah. It's really funny, isn't it? I will take 6 hours, a 2-hour layover, and a 1-hour flight, so 9 hours, and it'll be about 6 hours from here.
Shawn lives in British Columbia, the west coast of Canada.
So it's closer to you than it is to me.
Yeah.
How weird is that? It's very bizarre.
I heard, Shawn, that you, your first home in reality is the airplane.
Oh yeah, name any airplane, I can tell you.
But I heard that you came your lecture tour with the plane to Brussels.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because in Amsterdam at Schiphol Airport, Shawn Farquhar is coming. Oh no, that's not possible.
Yeah, because I've shut down Schiphol Airport.
Because something happened in the past. They see Shawn like a terrorist or something.
In 2006, at the FISM, I flew out of Schiphol Airport, and I built a giant projection screen made of aluminum plates in the shape of a giant industrial heart, for Shape of My Heart. And so it all packed into small little plates that were nuts and bolts, and it took 4 suitcases. So I bought 4 new suitcases. I divided the aluminum plates between them. And then there was tubing to make the stands, so short pieces of tubing of aluminum in each one of the suitcases. Then I needed batteries so there were batteries in each one of them. And I needed converter cables from 220 to 110, so there were cables in each one of them. And 4 brand new suitcases going through Schiphol Airport. Yeah, shut down the whole airport. Luggage, everything. I got to see the underground. I saw a room that was made of concrete with a steel table. I saw handcuffs. It was a very special trip. Oh, it was frightening. They put me in the room with my 4 suitcases and locked the steel door. And then this voice came on with a camera that moved and said, please open the suitcases. I'm like, no! I hadn't seen them for more than an hour. And I'm thinking, if you're frightened, I'm frightened. And then the choice of language was bad. When they took me out of the room, they showed me the x-rays and I saw it. I went, oh yeah, no problem. I went back in, closed the door myself. I opened up the suitcases. I started explaining what everything was. And then I meant to say, isn't it strange? Strange is the word I should have said, that the security would see the aluminum as something different than what it was. But it had a powder coating, like a coating on the outside, that made it look organic. So it looked like I had a bomb with something that would blow into pieces. And I said, isn't it? And instead of saying the word strange, I said funny. Which is the only word the security people heard. Wasn't it funny? And they were done. And, you think it's funny? I had a very nice time at Schiphol Airport. I try not to fly through there now because I'm pretty sure my name is flagged for the rest of my life.
I understand why you started in Brussels.
I flew to Brussels instead.
Okay, Shawn, last question. We talked about learning magic this afternoon together, and You say it's very important to read books.
Yeah.
What is your opinion about that? Why is it so important to read books?
I think nowadays we're losing so much because a book allows you to interpret and to create your own presentations of it. Now we watch so many videos that you just sort of do exactly what the last person did. And I'm seeing so many of the young people who watch YouTube videos sounding like the other magicians. And now in the last 5 months you see so many young magicians wearing a red vest and their hair is going crazy and they're moving with the dramatics, and they emulate. And it's good to emulate, but it's also harder to get away from it once you start. I emulated. I wanted to be Mandrake. I wanted to be Lance Burton. I wanted to be my father. But because I read books, I was able to come away from that. And I'm dyslexic. I have a very difficult time reading books. I have more than 10,000 books in my library in, I think, 14, 15 languages. I use Google Translate, holding the phone up and reading books in Norwegian and French and German so that I've got an idea. And they're horrible translations, but I get the idea. And because I'm dyslexic, sometimes I have trouble understanding what the author said, and I create new magic tricks. And when I show it to the author, they're like, "What's that?" I said, "It's your trick." "No, it's not." I'm like, "Really? I created a new trick." It's like, which is part of the process with the book, and the book allows you to remember it for a lifetime. When you see a video, you generally forget, and the book, and that's coming from the guy who tonight will sell you a bunch of digital download videos. But buying books, I think, is important.
But Shawn, there's one magician. He's probably very good, from Canada. Who didn't write a book?
Yeah.
It's Shawn Farquhar.
Yeah, I don't have a book.
Why didn't you write a book?
Because I think you have to write a book towards the end of your career, not at the start of your career, or when you reach a level of excellence. I'm not there yet. I see a lot of magicians who say master magician. I'm a student. I think I'll be a student for a lot longer. I have friends who I've taught who now call themselves master magicians. And I'm like, really? Wow, that's impressive. I've never done a master class. My first one, I was actually objecting. The Magic Circle has announced I'm doing a magic class, and because so many people wanted to register, they're doing it by lottery. And I said, could you change it to talk? And they're like, no, we like the word master class. I said, yeah, but that denotes that I'm a master, and I'm not. I want to be a student. I think that a book should be written towards the end, because even the stuff I created 20 years ago, I've changed. And this is what I love about being a digital download over a book now, and why I don't have anything printed, is I can change that. When you buy a digital download from me, if later I find a better way to do it, I change that file, and then I email everybody and say, download it again, because I have a better way. I don't have any 2.0s. Nothing drives me more crazy than 2.0. I bought a trick just recently from a magician. I paid $130, and the day after it arrived, 2.0 came out. And I was like, that's just so wrong to me. And I wrote him, and he goes, well, I got a better idea. I said, you should have waited and put out the better idea. It's like, but you knew those were problems. And he goes, yeah, and you didn't work on the solutions. Well, I was, but I wanted money. Okay, that bugs me. On the other hand, I create to the best I can. But if later something better comes, I don't want to charge you again, and I would rather re-videotape or re-edit and then put it out there and give it. And so everything I have has registration codes so that people get it for free the second time. And this makes me feel very proud of my material. If I publish it in a book, I'm done. It's the end of it. And by not doing that yet, when I'm in my mid-60s, early 70s, and towards the end of my traveling every single day of my life, and maybe only travel 5 or 6 months, I'll put a book together that says, here's how it started, and here's how the tricks ended. And as I start not performing, that will be the end of those tricks. And that's when it deserves to be in print.
Okay.
That's my feeling.